Here we are, 1 year and 2 days later from the first one. Is it? I believe it is. So, what I got here is another great story. 50 Shades of Larry 2. Fist Larry Deeper. Uh, guess might as well just dig in. Your baby bump is getting bumpier. Pretty soon, you're going to have to buy pregnant lady clothes. My sister Larry smiled broadly. Already have. Already have. I'm almost 5 months gone now, and none of my regular clothes fit me. My boobs are bigger, my ass is spreading, my tummy is inflating like a fucking balloon. What the fuck? God, that must shock. Larry showed even more teeth as he gushed. No way, this is so cool. I'm having Elijah's baby. I thought having a kid would be torture, but I like what is going on. I like being pregnant. Too bad he isn't here to share your enthusiasm. Sucks that he had to die in that freak accident. Oh, it's fine. We weren't really dating or anything anyways. Just fuck buddies. But I hope mom and dad are back before August so they can be here for the birth. I hope the little Ian can wait for that long. Ian? You're gonna scribe Ian on his birth certificate? He sat on my easy chair. No, I have 4 names picked out, but I want to see what he looks like before I put one on him. It would be weird having a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby with his name Alejandro or something. Do mom and dad know the kid is a boy? I told them last week after the ultrasound. Larry left for his own room, leaving me to get back to being a whiny pussy bitch. I used to be married, but that ended when my ex decided she didn't like playing with my small cock anymore. Since the divorce 8 months earlier, I've dated these women, 3 women, but none have made me want to fuck them longer than a few seconds. They were okay, but we couldn't start a fire together. My sister's fuck buddy died in a freak accident in his office that somehow dismembered his arm. Before he died, he knocked Larry up. Since my sister and I were both single, we spent a lot of time together. In fact, I had a dinner date with my older sibling later that day. I can't drink alcohol. If the baby got drunk, it would kick the jizz out of my bladder. Then I'll have two, one for you and one for me. As the dinner progressed past the appetizer, my sister and I asked about my latest attempt to find a girlfriend. I told her about the most recent failed date, that I'd pretty much given up on looking for a steady partner in sports bars. You should try libraries. When brainy young women driven to research and abstinence hang out, she joked. It's not the abstinence part I'd be interested in. I've had enough of that myself. Larry's eyes locked on mine for a brief second. Yeah, I'm not interested in that either. But with Elijah gone, it's forced on me. I'll never find someone who can fuck like that ever again. When I dropped her off at Larry, when I dropped her off at the house, Larry leaned to me and kissed me on the cheek. Then asked, "What are you doing for the rest of the night?" It was a rerun of Armageddon on TV. It's a great movie. About an hour after I got home from the sex shop, my cell chirped. Paul had sent a text. Hello? What? Want to get laid? Always. Come here? You have a friend for me? Wait. You'll see. The door is unlocked. An invite from my sister came to his room in the late night was unusual, but not worrisome. Since he hinted he might have a friend he wanted me to meet, I cleaned up, brushed my teeth, and split for Paula's room. He'd set me up with her friend before, so I was mildly intrigued. As I walked to her room, Larry left his door unlocked, so I didn't bother knocking when I got there. I stepped into the room, but she wasn't there. Paula? Back here. I found my way past the couch to the rear of the room. Only one door was open, my sister's bedroom. Apparently, she has 2 rooms to himself and I only got one. Fucking pregnant women privilege. I paused at the second door. Hey, you in here? Yeah, come in. He was sitting on his bed, his back resting on 2 or 4 pillows wearing the thigh-length nightgown. His fingers were laced over the swell of his stomach, as if he were feeling the baby. He had pulled his short black hair into a ponytail. Okay, that's also not possible. Which fell across his shoulder, the end of it covering his right breast. His stomach may have been distended, but the legs protruding from the hem of the gown were not only bare, but very shapely. He looked firm and trim from thigh to toes. Are you alone? Of course. Why wouldn't I be? Well, I thought you might have a friend here to meet me. My sister cocked her head to one side, studied me briefly, then grinned. Oh, you think that I invited you over to meet a girl? No, I asked you over because I'm horny and I want to have sex. I stopped in mid-step. I heard the words. I understood the words. But I couldn't get my mind to accept the words. You want me to screw you? Larry smiled pretty. Brown eyes sparked mischievously. Yes, I want you to screw me. Lay me, fuck me, and when you get done doing all that, I'm going to abuse you for my own pleasure. Hey, if you are so fucking hard up to fuck, go and fuck a baby. I would rat you out to mom and dad. He shook his head, then patted the bed beside him. Sit. Let me tell you why we are going to have sex. I wasn't afraid of my sister, not physically at least, but her attentions were making me worry. I sat next to him, tentative. You're my brother. That works to my advantage for several reasons. First, you are available and convenient. Second, I know that you are not some rapist or serial killer, so I'm safe. Third, you don't have any deadly STDs. Fourth, if you have sex with me, I know it won't be the latest breaking news at your work. And last, you're not getting any right now, so you must have a good deal of sexual energy to work off, and I intend on working it off you. I have no intention of going out and finding someone to fuck or replace Elijah. And I don't want some needy bastard clinging to me after I fuck him for a few times. You and I can bounce over our beds until mom and dad come home, and I won't feel guilty or be afraid that some guy is going to call me and dad answers the phone. I'm already pregnant, so that's not a problem. You won't have to use condoms. If you're like other men, you view them only as necessary to get a gift's permission. But I am freely offering, so you can enjoy me without them. You've been thinking about this for how long? Oh, maybe a week. Last Saturday, when we were grilling steaks, I saw you pose in a way that made my pussy twitch. I'd felt it with other guys, but never with you. The feeling surprised me, shocked me, and made me embarrassed for my own thoughts, but the longer I watched you as a man, not as a brother, the more I twitched. Even got a little miffled at Marilyn's when she was flirting with you. By the time everybody left, I was thinking about you sexually. Tonight at dinner, I made up my mind. Get undressed. Don't I get a say in this? Larry reached for my shirt, buttons, and levered open the top one, as she said with the assurance of a 10-year-old girl who knew she was in charge of the playground. No, I'm the big sister. You're the little brother. You do what I say, and I say you're going to screw me. When he said what he was doing made me shiver with uncertainty. I was not convinced I could fuck my own sister, so I had to object. You're pregnant. Won't sex hurt the baby? Larry looked at me with growing frustration in his eyes. No, being pregnant is making me so goddamn horny. I'm so hard up. I could fuck a fence post right now, but I'm tired of doing everything myself while thinking about what a good hard-on can do for me. My dodo doesn't hurt the kid, so you hard prick won't either. By then my shirt was open and his hands were working on my belt. I stood off the bed and finished the job of undressing while Larry watched with wide, glittering eyes. Even though I was apprehensive, my cock didn't have any reservations. As my clothes came off, my prick was swelling. Growing into what my sister needed, he slid down from his sitting position to the flat his back and waited. Wearing just my bulging underwear, I went to bed with my pregnant old sister. He flipped to his side, threw a leg over my thigh, and sent his fingers into my boxers to his goal. Larry gripped my erection and started putting it while snuggling even closer to put his lips on my neck. Fuck you guys, what the fuck? There was no hesitation, no second thoughts or moments of indecision. Larry needed to fuck, and when he was ready to take on his own family with his help, I pulled my underwear over my long don and down my legs. I reached under the gown to pull his tidy whities off, and I found only Larry. My fingers discovered warm, soft skin unfurthered by cloth. I pushed him to his back, then moved up and over him, my knees between his legs, my hands next to his shoulders to keep my stomach from mashing the baby. That, on an unspoken cue, he raised her hips. I lowered mine, and the head of my don split my sister's pussy. He was ready, dry, cold, and swollen open, so I slid easily into him until these nuts pressed on the lips of his bearded clan. Larry gasped, a breath that held it while looking up at me, his mouth turned up at the corners, then he sighed out, "Oh my god, that feels so good, Josh. I need this so much." I penetrated him as far as I could, but he didn't move until he locked his arms around my neck. He pulled me down so our cheeks were sliding against each other. I had to bow down over his stomach to keep my squashing. His unbound child. He bit my shoulder. His breath felt the desert wind. He started to rock his hips, moving his cum dumpster on my schlong. He started slow, and I reacted to him by thrusting against him. In the moment, his movements became more urgent, more wanting, as his body reacted to sex for the first time since he got knocked up. He loosened his grasp on my neck and spread the legs wider across the bed. I pushed up on my arms to take the pressure off my nephew and started to fuck him. I was pumping his fuckhole while he thrust against me in the rhythm as old as Back to the Future. Respectable reference. I couldn't imagine how needy he was until only a couple of minutes after we began. He slammed his eyes shut, threw his arms and legs around me, and began to vibrate. All rhythm was gone. He humped against me as the orgasm rampaged through him. I could only hang on to Larry as he bounced. Gradually, his orgasm subsided, and he relaxed back onto the bed and lay still. I was still rock hard inside him, so I stroked him a few more times to see how he would react. He reached up his hands and pulled me to my side, then rolled me back, rolling with me to keep my hard on in him, then rested her head on my chest. I looked at the red brand, holding the ponytail. You've been thinking about this for more than a week, haven't you? He lifted her face to look at me and admitted, "Yeah, but only about getting some, not about you." Then began to move again. He pushed up and rocked on me, never taking his eyes off mine. We began to fuck again. This time he had less urgency, but still a stronger hunger for my meat cigar. I looked up at him and I realized I was fucking my sister. I had never seen him naked, so I paused screwing him to pull on the hem of his nightgown. He let me pull it up and off, and after it hit the floor, I took my time to look at him. As we resumed our slow fuck, I reached up and touched his breasts, which looked infected. The aurora, which stretched tight, and the nipples blue and puffy. Wait, what the fuck? I started to massage them with both hands. He closed his eyes, stretched his head back, and leaned into me a little. As I played with his sensitive tits, his hips started moving a little faster so I could start rocking on my ass to penetrate deeper and harder. In a few minutes, there was no more polite, quiet fucking as we both climbed toward the peak of our need. He lifted off my slightly, so I'd had room to stroke him. I put my hands on his hips and lifted him with higher each time. I drove up into him, then pulled him down on me again. As I screwed Larry, I could feel my giggleberries growing tense, and I knew that I couldn't last much longer. I whispered a warning to him so he grabbed my shoulders and started whipping his great divide back and forth on my pork sword. I lost all control. The man blast shot out of me and deep into him as my erection throbbed and pulsed with the orgasm. He was already pregnant, so my man seeds were sent on a delightful but useless journey through his enchilada of love. Larry reacted to my climax and began to shiver as he huffed rapidly for air. His eyes were wide open, looking at nothing, where he began to voice the bursts of passion shocking his body. We fell apart, silent except for the harsh rasping for cool air. After a few seconds, he flopped his head towards me. The smile on his face lit up the universe. I never in my life even imagined you could do that for me. I just got awesomely fucked, and boy did I need it. You were even better than Elijah was. Put a hand over him, the roundness of his stomach, and caressed his son. So I asked him, "Is that it? Is that all you needed?" He rolled to his side, facing me, her stomach pressed against mine. He lifted his leg and laid it across my hip, then put a hand on my cheek. "No," he murmured. "Stay with me tonight, please?" It was the please that made me realize that my sister wasn't just horny. He was lonely. He needed someone in his life, not just for sex, but to stave off the feelings of isolation, of not having Elijah with him. In a burst of intuition, I knew Larry needed to share his joy of being pregnant. And if his fuck buddy couldn't but be there, I was his choice. I reached for my sister and pulled him close to me, then hugged him timidly. He huffed his relief, and I wasn't going to reject because of his behavior. The tender sibling bond between us quickly rekindled to a hot, passionate union of two lovers yet again. He moved his head back until he was looking into my eyes. "Do you think we can kiss? Is that okay?" I pressed my lips against him. And wasn't surprised that the kiss felt as natural and normal as if I were kissing a girlfriend. We broke the kiss, then smiled at each other. He reached between my legs and began to encourage my semi-hard pump-action shotgun to become completely hard again. I'd never been to bed with a pregnant girl before, so I wasn't sure that I could or should do to make him happy without stressing out the Ian. I mean, I didn't want him to go into labor or anything, because I was unsure. I asked him, "What do you want me to do, Larry?" I don't want to hurt you or your kid. He focused on my eyes. Do anything you want. Do everything you want. I'm not so far along that my stomach or the baby will be in the way. She paused, grinned, easily squeezed my beef whistle, then added again as the 10-year-old in charge. Just make sure I enjoy it too. I pushed him to his side so I was behind him. As my hands clutched his rounded stomach, my fuck rod slipped between her legs into her piss fingers. Larry lifted his top leg and laid it over my thigh as I penetrated him once more. The load of a dick spit had given him from my entry into him in an easy, sensual, beginning to a second heated session of slapping bodies, gasping, moaning, and heightening passion. My sister was getting something he had missed out on for months, and he was letting the night know how good it felt to get laid again. I wanted to roll him to his stomach, but the baby was in the way, so I easily persuaded him to his hands and knees so I could take him from behind. I held his widening hips while he rolled his back in the rhythm with my strokes. My sister and I fucked like that until he began to quake and cry out a series of strong orgasms. His arms collapsed. His head dropped to a pillow while I held his ass off the bed. The string of convulsions racking his body caused him to yelp with delight and sob with effort at the same time. Lust was flowing from his stench trench, soaking these nuts as he finally relented and gave Larry what he craved. I crashed to the bed, heaving for air, sweating like I'd run a marathon. Larry opened his eyes. His smile was a yard wide. Oh my God, Josh. If we keep that up... Oh, Mary. Holy shit. That felt... so good. We spent the next half hour or so relaxing, regaining energy. Larry got us some cool water to drink, then we sat cross-legged on his bed and talked. Since we were naked, I was focused on his field of dreams, then he suddenly sat upright and laughed sharply. What? What is it? The baby moved. He's moving around here. Giving me your hand. Larry pulled my right arm to him by the wrist, then placed my hand on his tummy. I didn't feel anything but warm skin, so he moved it up for me until I felt a lump. The lump moved. He twittered again. As I sat facing my older sister, with his baby moving under my hand, my cock began to reform as an erection. I reached for Larry, then we started another intimate introduction to my nephew, Ian. The end.